What's going on, Thrilligans? Happy Monday. Hope everyone had an awesome weekend. I'm glad to be back here with you guys. Listen, it was an ultimate fail on Friday with my mug, but today, the magic is happening. Check it. This was the... Listen, no parlor tricks here. This is the same black mug, just when it heats up with some coffee, and then you get this cool Beckett just killing it, splash of blood. As always, guys, merch is available in the store. It's authorpatricklogan.live/merch. And if you're looking for a Christmas present for one of those Thrilligans out there, hey, look no further. Rep the squad. Beckett, Chase, or Drake. Drake. How was everyone's weekend? Hey, Lisa, what's going on? Thanks to everyone who followed, too, over the weekend. April, Matt, Kim, Sodano Sculptures, Linda, and Mikey. Much appreciated. Yeah, the mug is pretty cool. Like I said, it's all black like the handle, like a pure matte black, and then when it heats up with coffee, you get that cool logo. Oh, before I forget, a big shout out to Karen, longtime fan, and it's her birthday today. So happy birthday, Karen. Hope you're doing great. It's too bad the weather didn't hold up. This weekend was awesome, man. It was cool, but it was sunny, and we were outside for most of the time. As you guys know, if you're here on Friday, it was my daughter's 9th birthday. So we tried to make it work, you know. We saw some friends, distance, said hello, maybe had a cocktail or two, but couldn't have an actual party. I promised her she'd have a real party when we get news as to when this lockdown is going to let up. Thinking 5 o'clock today, the premier is supposed to come on, and he's going to tell us what's up. I'm doubtful they're going to open shit up. I just really hope that they do. Other than that, I got to watch a few movies this weekend. I watched part of the David Attenborough film. Okay, let me try it again. David Attenborough film. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy his voice. His stories is very interesting. I had to watch the rest. I fell asleep. But I also watched Borat, and like this new Borat movie on Amazon. Eh, eh. Okay, I watched 3% of the David Attenborough one. I might have had a few cocktails. But the Borat, I watched the whole film, and it was eh. I was talking to Ashley about this. One of the problems with these types of shows, and I think the Jackass guys felt this the worst, and also the punked guys. You know, you're a victim of your own success. When you're so popular that people know who you are, you can't really do these live prank shows. And then we talked about it further, and I guess like this whole live prank thing is just something that people expect now. You used to be able to get away with it, like the Jackass guys, all that. Even now, if you don't recognize who those people are, the Borat, Jackass, Nudsons, the Impractical Jokers, even if you don't recognize them, if something so weird is going on, you're definitely gonna be like, oh, okay, this is some sort of this is a prank show of some kind. So I don't really know if it could work anymore, to be honest with you. Although some of the political leaders in that just clueless as to what's going on. Trevor, welcome. Thank you for the like. Remember, guys, you got to do what Trevor did. You got to hit that like button. That's your chat tags. All these likes, all these follows, just helps Facebook. It helps promote the stream, man. Facebook sends it out to more people. We got a fresh crowd today. This week, oh yeah, I know you guys. A lot of you were like, "Oh my God, the books got pushed back," and they did. But I think I'm really actually on track to get all of those books. Yeah, Trevor, it went white. We talked about this a little bit. It worked. Magic. I'm on track. I think I'm on track to get all. They have 6 books due out in November. All right, or 5 in November. 2 are done, as you know. 3 Wild Months. And Strawman, and now Adverse Effects is going to be done, and then I have Head Games and the next book in the Chase series, which is called Already Dead. That one's going to be super fun to write. I'm actually thinking about writing that one immediately after I finish this one. So this week we're going to finish Adverse Effects, and then we might start directly into Already Dead. Already Dead is a cool story. There's a condition called Cotard's syndrome, and basically it's a psychological disorder wherein the person who suffers from it believes that they are dead or dying or decaying, and it's horrifying, but it's a real condition. So I'm going to work on that with Chase's new book. Some mystery there. What else is going on? I'm hoping to have 3 Wild Months out this week as well, or maybe early next week. Gearing up for Halloween. Here they're still allowing trick-or-treating, so we're going to be doing some facsimile of that. I don't even know if we will, though. You know, if they were allowing some gatherings, I think I would have like a haunted house, like in the backyard, haunted backyard, I guess, and have some of the neighborhood kids come over and play, and you know the old that you put your hand in the Jello and its brains and the spaghetti and that sort of thing. I think that'd be super cool, but they're not really allowing us to do that. But they're allowing kids to go door to door and accept candy, so who knows? I don't know yet what I'm going to be. I'm thinking step out of my comfort zone, be a lumber sexual or something. What are you guys being for Halloween? Do you guys dress up still? It's the best holiday of the year, man. It's so much fun. Or what are your kids being then if you have children? Trevor, what are your kids being? I know you got a bunch of Spawn. My kids are being a witch, a cat, and my eldest was torn between Hermione from Harry Potter or Georgie from It. And obviously you know which way I'm trying to push her towards. But I think for a kid to wear that yellow coat and maybe do something so their arm is not there, right, or it's hidden, and then you have the blue balloon, I think that'd be awesome. That's what they're being. I haven't decided on myself yet. What about you guys? I remember one year when I was a kid, must have been like 8 or 9 years old. My mom thought it was a good idea that I would dress up as a girl and go to school. So I'm still really not living that one down. Man, this was years ago too, so not as acceptable, that's for sure. Baseball. I don't watch much football, but I've been watching the baseball, the World Series. It's been a lot of fun. I've seen everything from the most bungled ninth inning in World Series history, perhaps, and then a guy tried to steal home last night. I don't know what's going on. Feels like the world is just living 2020 has been a bizarro year, and sports are no exception to that. Let's see if I can get this in focus better. I think that's better. A little bit more in focus. No, it was not cute. It was not cute when I was dressed up as a girl. Like literally, I had some stupid ass hat like someone wears to the Kentucky Derby nowadays. Earrings, lipstick, like a shoulder pad, this kind of suit thing. No, it was not cute. When my mom said, "Oh no, that's a good idea. You can dress up as a queen for Halloween in 1991." I guess I'm glad those pictures are gone, destroyed. They didn't make the move. That's what happens every time we move. We used to move a lot when I was here in Montreal for school. We used to move every few years. No, that's okay, Ash. You just do your work. We used to move every year or so, just basically moving from different apartments, on the run from the cops, that sort of thing. And every time I would have an item of clothing, or mostly items of clothing that Ashley just did not care for. Like I had like a cut off muscle shirt, like no fear, just pure class. But every time we would move, I would look for these fucking items of clothing. They're my favorites, right? And I would be digging for them, trying to find them. And then I'd be like, Ash, have you seen my no fear cut off shirt? This is what she says. It didn't make the move. Like a shirt somehow has to make the move. Like literally the most passive aggressive way to throw out something. So yeah, nowadays, if I don't like something, I just throw it out and say it didn't make the move. Yeah, funny. Ha ha. Vanessa, welcome. Thank you for the like. Lisa, also thank you for the like. Much appreciated. What did you guys get up to? Lisa, you said it was cold, lots of snow. Well, that's great. I hope you got some skiing. Can you guys ski? Yet? Enough snow to ski there in Denver? I was talking to a friend of mine. It was his 48th birthday on the weekend, and he was saying that he's going heli skiing in March, I believe. Sounds like hella fun. Yeah. I used to ski a little bit as a kid, but most of the time I'd be playing hockey. It would take up all my weekends, weekdays, that sort of thing. So I think, yeah, tomorrow, Wednesday, maybe we'll finish Adverse Effects. I'm hoping. I want to check out the word count that we got going on. We had a productive week last week. We had a lot of chats, that's for sure. I still haven't decided what movie I'm going to watch with Ashley. What horror film. We're sitting at, we broke the 70,000 word mark. There we go. Oh, that's great. They need a little bit of that snow in California then, I guess. Oh, you can't really see the word count because of this. There you go. I'm just going to adjust this word count, guys. In one of the writers groups that I'm in, the Canadian one, of course, they're talking about NaNoWriMo. You guys know what NaNoWriMo is? I hope I'm saying that right. It's a National Novel Writing Month, and it takes place every year in November. You sign up, whatever your like. They're I don't know what you call them, factions all over the globe, whatever most major cities, or definitely in the U.S., all over the U.S. And basically, you sign up. It's free, and it's just to keep you motivated so you can write a book in a month. That's the goal. And they consider a book, or the goal is really 50,000 words. It doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just about getting people to sit down and write. Basically commit to, I'm going to do some hard math here for a second. I don't know, 1,600, almost 1,700 words a day for the month of November. And then in the end, you have a 50,000 word novel. And of course, there was so much blowback from other people who are just, I guess they're just angry or bitter. So a lot of people were saying, oh my God, I did this a few years ago. It was great for my writing career. It really pushed me, made me work hard. Other people said, I haven't gotten there yet, but I always try. And other person says, oh, I did some of my best work. Someone says I did some of my worst work. And then you get these trolls who come in there and say, it's not a race. Fucking Leonard Cohen took 17 years to write one poem. It's not a race. You should just be focusing on getting the words perfect. Get them perfect. And I hate that. I was so close. You guys ever get close to writing emails or comments on people's posts and then you just like, nah, fuck it. Too much drama. That's the way I feel most of the time. Just way too much drama, man. I don't want to be. I'll get called out for it too, especially in these Canadian groups. But yeah. So I've been sitting here with you guys for a month, less than a month for sure. And I mean, I'm usually live just weekdays too, not weekends. And I'm usually live for, I would say, 3 hours on average a day this month. And I talked to you guys for half of that, a third of that. And yet I'm sitting at a word count of 70,000. So I don't know. I think 50,000 might be a bit of might be too easy. Might be too easy. We should push ourselves harder. I said before, I'm a huge fan of challenges, both physical, mental, anything in general. And I think I'm gonna move forward with my plan to write a book in a day. Go live maybe 6 a.m. Go 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. See if I can write a whole book. But you guys got to be there with me. I need your support. 24 hours. Write a book in 24 hours. That'd be amazing. I like those challenges too because it not only does it prove what you're capable of, or what is capable, in the case of you guys watching me doing it, but it's also those days then when words are coming slowly, you can think back to that and how your mind functioned during that one day or 1 week where you wrote a book, and it could just activate kind of the muscle memory and you could just keep on pushing forward. I guess the only drawback is that if I do a book in a day, then you guys are going to be writing, I know he could do a book in a day. I want more Chase. Give me 10 Chase this month. 10 Chase books. Oh, and I'm really hoping to have a special guest on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Still working out the logistics, but if I get the guest that I want, you guys are in for a treat. This guy is just crushing it. And Amazon's taking notice. Amazon is offering him all sorts of shit. But I don't want to spoil anything, but he's really killing it. So it'll be interesting for you guys who are interested in finding a new reader, a new book to read, rather. And but you probably may or may not have already read him, seeing as he sells like crazy. And also for you aspiring writers out there, just to get a perspective from someone else who writes a different way than I do. At least I think he does. I don't think anybody writes like me. Just a crazy person in general. But yeah, that should be a lot of fun. So let's gear up for a Friday at 5 Eastern. Again, it's going to be smooth, relaxed. I need you guys' help though, man. I gotta get you guys to ask some questions. I know last time I did with Lex, you guys were great. Made her feel welcome. More welcome than me. You guys just trolled me, and that's fine. I'm used to it. I'm here every day. Coffee done. Mug is black. See? Magic. All right. You guys get ready to get some work in? I like these Mondays. I like Mondays. I'm going to say it. I like Mondays. I like Mondays because it allows me to do like a recap, a mini recap of what I did last week. It kind of sets the tone for the week to come. So my bad. Last week we got a lot of work done. We really pushed forward. I realize something right now. If you see this, this is why I love Scrivener, because it organizes all the parts and chapters. I am like this. I'm almost towards the end of the book, I think. And I remember told you guys that I'm having like that little twist thing. Okay, the huge, massive twist, and I was gonna make like the third part of the book. I don't think that's the case anymore. The story's not really looking. It's not gonna lend itself to the story. There will be that twist, but I think it's gonna be a much smaller section of the book. So what I'll likely do is I'll actually just continue in part 2, as you see here, and I'll write the rest of part 2, and then I'll end the book there. And then when I end the book, I will go back later and end up separating this out. So I like my parts to be pretty symmetrical in terms of number of chapters, a little OCD. They don't have to be perfect, but if the first one's 20, I don't want the second one to be 40. 20, something like that. And then, and then I'll just put a third part in there somewhere. I'll try to, I don't really stick, or at least not overtly stick to the 3-act structure of a story, but naturally I think that works well. So I'll go in and pick a spot here in the middle of part 2 where I think that the action has reached a peak, and then I'll cut it, and then I'll back out. That's why I wanted to do it at the end of part 2, where I did this twist, right? Because at the end of part 2, I envisioned that the reader would be like, okay, that's awesome. Like we're done type of thing. Great. The story's wrapping up. And then you're like, oh, what the fuck? Why is there 20% left more in the book? Am I one of the, is Patrick turning into one of those scammers who just loads the back of the book with all sorts of bullshit so that Kindle will give him more page reads? Is he resorting to that low? And they'd be like, oh no, there's something else. There's something else going on. But I'll have to find a more natural break. All right, so we left off, we had, oh my God. We had Chase separate from Floyd, Dunbar, and Leroy now. What's up, Bobby? Welcome. We had them separate. Jesus. Words, So we had them separate, and you had Chase going after Mr. Madsen because she wants to know what the names of the people who were involved in the trial were, because Floyd and Leroy and Dunbar, they discovered that the pharma company that Mr. Madison used to work for, the father of one of the girls who committed suicide, had some sort of nootropic drug that they were studying, and they did some clinical trials. One guy tried to commit suicide, and because of that, they kind of had to shut down. They were sued, blah, blah, blah. And so they believe there's a connection there. So we have now Leroy and Floyd are trying to look into the chemistry, why these monoclonal antibodies were used, what's up with this nootropic called Cerebrum, and Chase is meanwhile trying to hunt down the guy who committed suicide because she wants to know what that's all about. I think I wrote a little bit more over the weekend, like this much. Yeah, there's some big spoilers there. Yeah, and we found out that Cerebrum, the brain drug, if you guys recall, nootropics are like a brain-enhancing drugs, a class of drugs, and I don't think they're regulated at all in the U.S. I think they are in Canada, but not in the U.S. Anyways, there are a whole bunch of different types for ones that help boost memory or help just creativity, those sort of things. So this particular nootropic, nootropic, I don't know how you say it, N-O-O-tropic. I'm going to go with nootropic. That reminds me, do you guys ever read words in books? What's up, Nick? How you doing, my man? I'll tell you a quick story. when I used to read a lot as a kid, obviously, and I used to read words that I would never hear a person say, and I would just pronounce them differently in my head than they were pronounced actually supposed to be pronounced, and it led to some pretty embarrassing moments. And one of them, my younger brother and I keep talking about. It comes up every once in a while, but we used to love reading Spider-Man. In Spider-Man, you have Venom, right? Everyone knows Venom. Then you have the red version of Venom, right? Carnage. And I'd never heard that word used. I mean, I was a young kid, right? That word's not going to really come up. And we would talk amongst ourselves about the series Maximum, Carnage. And it was a great series of comics. It's one of those things that holds such nostalgia for me that I've been talking to my neighbor and trying to get a hold of those because I want to reread them because there was, it just brings me back to that moment in time. And so Andy and I, my younger brother, used to say that it was Maximum Carnage, like legit carnage instead of carnage. And so nowadays, whenever we get together and that word comes up, and it comes up often just because we goof on each other, we troll each other, we're like, what, like, really? They had, in Spider-Man, they had like this super French guy, Carnage. So we just roll with, I guess the name is like Cletus or something. Cletus Cassidy is the actual person's name before he got infected. And so we just pretend like he's a super, super French guy. He's like, Carnage. Welcome, Carnage. So this happens often. Even now, when I see a word that, it's easy to just go online and you type how to pronounce it, and they have these robots be like, Carnage. But there's still some words like nootropics, right? Nootropic. No tropics? No. New? I'm going to go with new. I don't know if there's some old tropics, but... All right, guys. That's story time. Now we got to tell some real stories. If you guys have any funny words like that where you just were pronouncing it wrong in your head, or with like a small group of friends before someone told you, there was a person legit. There was a person who lived in my wife's house when she was in university, and she was a philosophy major, and she thought that the popular philosopher Socrates, she called him Socrates. There's something wrong with you if you think it's Socrates. Freud. Jung. Carl Jung. I guess you could fuck that up. But Socrates? Come on, people. Yeah, if you have any words like that, put them in the chat. We can have a chuckle. Again, always gonna put some lo-fi beats on in the background. Did they? In Bill and Ted? There's a new Bill and Ted. I don't want to watch it, man. I don't. I was talking earlier, Nick, about the new Borat and how it was just meh. These reboots, I guess that one is more recent, obviously, but they just never do them justice. Like the Dumb and Dumber or whatever the newest Dumb and Dumber was. I don't know. What are we gonna do next? Ace Ventura? It's gonna be brutal. All right, so as usual, yeah, the lo-fi beats. Just get some ambiance going. Socrates. Okay. I didn't know that. Man, what are you guys just watching Bill and Ted in the last couple days? I haven't seen that movie in decades. All right, maybe there was no way she was spoofing though. There was no way that she was spoofing. She didn't strike me as a person who's seen Bill and Ted. Did anybody see the new one? Is it out? Yeah, it's out. I think it's out for rental. Reminds me of those movies like Biodome and Encino Man. That was like the peak of just stupid films. Stupid stoner films. Back in the mid-90s, I guess. Encino Man with Brendan Fraser. That guy was an A-list star, Brendan Fraser was, after The Mummy, which was huge. And then he fell off a fucking cliff. He got fat. He lost all his hair. And Hollywood's like, nah, you done. He was in that show, The Affair. Literally, I was watching it. and there was like this fat security guard guy, and it was like, that looked like Brendan Fraser. And Ashley's like, no way, that cannot be him. Sure enough, in the credits, he was there. It was him. Yeah, they're awesome movies. Biodome, remember that? What else was there? That was Pauly Shore. Pauly Shore was on Joe Rogan a while back, and he's got an interesting story. I recommend it. That's a guy who just fell off a mountain. All right, let's load up our Dragon software. Yeah. Stop whizzing the juice. So fucking stupid, man. Dude, how high do these people have to be to actually come up with these stupid things? Oh, yeah, dude, where's my car? Oh, my God. Oh, there were a bunch, like Road Trip. Anything like Tom Green was kind of either in or tangentially related to is just nutty. Yeah, there was Road Trip. There was that one, Euro Trip, I think. Yeah. Yeah, you got to be super high. All right, what was I doing here? I was doing something. I'm supposed to be working. Dude. Oh, there we go. All right, we're gonna start off. We're gonna start off with Chase. So Chase is going to strong arm Mr. Madison. Mr. Madison's not too happy about these intrusions. He's getting picked on. Oops. Beat it. Yeah, so we're going to have her go and speak to Mr. Madsen. Mr. Madsen is not going to be happy about it, but eventually she's going to tease the information out of him. And then we're going to have Dunbar and Floyd go to Mr. Madsen's house afterwards. They're just going to miss each other. I kind of don't like how Mr. Madsen is the center of everything, but it'll make sense to you as we move forward, as you find out exactly what's happening. Can you guys hear the music at all, or no? There you go. All right. Just gonna fix my lights here for a second. Now it should work. Let's see. There you go. All right, guys. Just trying to collect my thoughts here before I get going. You know how it is. It's Monday. Like I said, I like Mondays, but it's going to take me a minute to get into the zone. And then towards the end of the day, hopefully we'll be zipping along. open quote. I'm sick of talking to you guys, comma, close quote. Mr. Madison yelled from behind the closed door, period, open quote. If you want to talk to me again, comma, you talk to my lawyer, period, close quote, into paragraph. Chase frowned, period, into paragraph. She figured that this was an eventuality, semicolon. After all, comma, Floyd had set the stage by fumbling the delivery of the horrible news that Mr. Madison's daughter had committed suicide, period. Things had only gotten worse from there. There, semicolon. As of yet, comma, they had released no information about what happened to these girls, comma, why they committed suicide, comma, to either the public or to the families of the deceased, period, paragraph. And yet they kept coming around, comma, probing Mr. Madison in particular with questions he didn't seem to have the answers for, period, paragraph. But Chase had a sneaking suspicion that this question in particular, comma, Mr. Madison knew, period, paragraph. She wasn't sure exactly how M. Floyd Leroy had mentioned that even the study sponsors might not necessarily have the names or contact information for any of the participants, comma, that it might be sent to some other company or central database where the names were coded, M-. But Chase knew that she should touch better than to second guess her subconscious, period, to paragraph, open quote. I just have one more question for you, comma, Mr. Madison, period. And I would much rather ask you inside your home than outside, period, close quote, to paragraph. There was a small hesitation, and Chase hoped that she would hear the latch on the door shift open, period, to paragraph. She was disappointed, period, to paragraph, open quote. What question? Question mark, close quote, to paragraph. Well, comma, at least he didn't tell me to fuck off, period, new paragraph, open quote. Like I said, comma, I would like to ask you inside rather than outside, period, close quote, new paragraph. Another hesitation, period, new paragraph, open quote. I don't think so, M-. Unless you got a warrant, comma, then you need to talk to my lawyer, period, close quote, to paragraph. Chase sighed and placed a hand against the rough wooden door, comma, and bowed her head, period, paragraph. I hope that it didn't come to this. Open quote. I had hoped that it wouldn't come to this, comma, she thought, period, but you just pushed me too far, period, new paragraph, open quote. Chase sighed and Chase. I want to know about the clinical trial, M-. The clinical trial into cerebrum that you were the head of at Verdant Pharmaceuticals, comma, close quote, she said loudly, period, open quote. I want to know why they committed suicide. I want to know why you gave a drug whose main side effect was to induce suicidal tendencies, period, close quote, in a paragraph, as predicted, comma. She heard Chase heard the lock being shifted, period, new paragraph. The door opened, comma, but only wide enough for her to spy Mr. Madison's roomy eye through the opening, period, new paragraph, open quote. Keep your voice down, comma, close quote. He hissed, period, new paragraph, open quote. I want to know why you were in charge of a drug that caused people to consider suicide, comma, and then your daughter goes ahead and kills herself, period. I want to know if M- close quote in a paragraph. The door was suddenly swung wide open, comma, and she stared at Mr. Madison, period. He seemed shorter somehow than previously, comma, and it was clear that he hadn't showered nor changed since their last encounter, period of paragraph. The man reeked of booze, comma, and sweat, period of paragraph, open quote. What do you want? Question mark, close quote, the man hissed, period. And yet, even in his clearly inebriated state, comma, in his height of his grief, comma, the man still cared about what other people thought, period of paragraph. As he poked his chin out of the doorway and his eyes darted about to see if any of his neighbors had overheard, comma, Chase once again considered herself lucky. Colon. She was stable and confident enough to not give a shit about what anybody thought, period of paragraph. Which came in handy, comma, and helped her do her job, period of paragraph. No, comma, not job, comma, she's chided herself, period. This isn't your job anymore, comma, Chase, period. You're just helping out, period of paragraph, open quote. What do you want? Question mark, close quote. Mr. Madison demanded once more, period of paragraph. Open quote, let me inside, comma. Open quote, it's a mess, comma, close quote. Chase frowned, intensified, period of paragraph, open quote. Do I look like I give a shit? Question mark, let me in, period, close quote, into paragraph. Does it look like I give a shit? The man did that darting eyes routine once more, comma, but eventually he stepped aside and allowed Chase to enter, period, of paragraph. Unlike before, comma, however, comma, he didn't back away and give her space, period. Let her follow him into the adjacent room, period. Instead, comma, the man took just a few steps back, period. Chase hoped now in a confined space with Mr. Madison, comma, Chase wanted the man to take 2 more steps back, comma, if for nothing more than to mute the scent coming off of him, period. Open quote. How did you find out about Verdant Pharmaceuticals? Question mark, close quote. In the paragraph, it was an odd question, comma, given that this information was publicly available, period, in the paragraph. Open quote. I want to know about the patients in that trial, comma, the ones that you gave cerebrum to, comma, close quote, Chase said flatly, comma, ignoring the man's question, period, in the paragraph, open quote. I don't have that information, period, and I couldn't give it to you even if I did, period. It's classified, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Chase nodded her head and moved her neck from side to side, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Oh, comma, I know, period, but I think you do have that information, period, and classified or not, comma, I think you're going to give it to me, period, close quote, in the paragraph. The man crossed his arms over his soiled muscle shirt, period, in the paragraph. Open quote. You can't strong-arm me, period. You're the FBI, for Christ's sake, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Open quote. Not really, period. I mean, comma, I was in the FBI, comma, but I'm not anymore, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Open quote. This didn't faze Mr. Madison, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Like I said, comma, I don't have that information, period, and I don't appreciate you coming to my door and shouting on my doorstep, period. If you want to talk to me, comma, you go through my lawyer, period. And if you try a stunt like that again, comma, I'll make sure, M dash, close quote, in the paragraph. Chase sighed loudly, comma, an extended sigh that caused Mr. Madison to clam up, period to paragraph, open quote. Even though I'm not in the FBI anymore, comma, close quote, she began, comma, deliberately speaking slowly. Just in case the man was too drunk to understand, period, open quote. I still have connections, period. In fact, comma, I know a lot of people in the media, comma, people I used to talk to, comma, people who I'd give selective information to, so long as they held back on specific stories as long as I wanted them to, period. It was kind of a you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of relationship, period. Close quote to paragraph. Now Chase paused, comma, and she could almost hear the gears inside Mr. Madison's head turning, comma. Could see his eyes twitch as he attempted to figure out exactly where she was going with this, period to paragraph. Chase made him wait. Period to paragraph, open quote. And, question mark, close quote to paragraph, open quote. And if you don't tell me exactly what I want to know, comma, I'm going to go to the press, period. I'm going to tell them that a drug you worked on, comma, a drug that was pulled even before it reached market, comma, and one that eventually led to the downfall of Verdant Pharmaceuticals, comma, was done because it caused suicidal tendencies, period, close quote in the paragraph, open quote. You can't, M dash. The court documents are sealed, period, close quote in the paragraph, open quote. Sealed or not, comma, we have the FDA report, period. And then I'm going to tell them about how your daughter committed suicide, period. I'm also going to tell them about how there was a strange drug going around the school, comma, a strange drug that had similar qualities to cerebrum, comma, and your daughter may or may not have taken it, period, close quote in the paragraph. Mr. Madison's brow furrowed, and he started to turn a brighter shade of pink, period in the paragraph, open quote. There's no drug left, comma. It was destroyed, period. This is bullshit. It's a lie, period, close quote in the paragraph. Chase shrugged, period in the paragraph, open quote. I'm not saying there's a drug left, or I'm not going to tell the press that your daughter was taking cerebrum, M dash. I couldn't do that in good conscience because I have no evidence of that, period. I'm just going to tell them the facts about Verdant Pharmaceuticals and the suicidal tendencies behind cerebrum. And then I'm going to tell them about your daughter, period. That's it, period, close quote in the paragraph. Chase felt grimy now, comma, dragging the name of a deceased teenager through the mud like this, comma, but she was doing it for Madison, period to paragraph. She was doing it for all of the girls who had already committed suicide, comma, and she was doing it to prevent others from following in their footsteps, period to paragraph. Mr. Madison opened his mouth to speak, comma, before he clammed. His jaw snapped shut, and she saw the muscles in the corners start to clench, period to paragraph. Chase wasn't sure what the man was going to do, period. She didn't know if he was going to lash out at her, comma, if he was going to collapse into a puddle of grief and sorrow, comma, or if he was going to do as she asked, period to paragraph. And for a time, comma, it appeared like there was another option she hadn't considered, colon, that Mr. Madison had just gone into some sort of stupor, comma, a stasis mode, comma, and that he was just going to stare at her as she was now. Period to paragraph. But Chase wasn't about to back down, period. She could stand here in the foyer of the man's smelly apartment for days if she had to, period to paragraph. until Mr. Madison did ... something, period, new paragraph, open quote. You're disgusting, comma, close quote, he said, period. New paragraph, despite the insult, comma, Chase didn't move, comma, and she knew in that moment that she'd won, period, new paragraph. The man swore at her, comma, but eventually he left, comma, receding to the back room, period. Chase remained where she was, comma, listening to him rifle through some pages, period, new paragraph. Papers. Less than a minute late. The man returned, comma, holding out a single piece of paper to her, period. It was well worn, comma, with black smudges near the edges that could have been from fingerprints or from ink. Period, new paragraph. Chase looked at the page and eventually took it, period, new paragraph, open quote. What is this? Question mark, close quote. She asked, period, new paragraph, open quote. That's the contact information for the patient, period, close quote, in the paragraph, open quote. The patient, question mark, close quote. Chase questioned, period, in the paragraph. Mr. Madison nodded, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, the patient who tried to commit suicide and sued Verdant, period. Well, comma, not him exactly, period, close quote, into paragraph, open quote. What do you mean? Question mark, close quote, into paragraph. Mr. Madison indicated the sheet of paper with his chin, period, into paragraph, open quote. Read it, comma. It's all there, period, close quote, into paragraph. Chase didn't want to take her eyes off Mr. Madison, comma, but the curiosity soon won out, period. She lowered her gaze and quickly scanned the first few lines, period, in paragraph. Patient number 6 in the cerebrum trial. His name was Todd Powers, period. Todd Powers had been in his mid-30s when he'd entered the trial, comma, roughly 3 years back, period, in paragraph. But instead of finding a residential address for the man, comma, she saw something then. Took her for a loop, period, in paragraph, open quote. Mainland psychiatric facility, question mark, close quote. Her eyes shot up and she focused on Mr. Madison, period, in paragraph, open quote. I'm not telling you anything else, period. And if you so much as suggest that I gave you this information, question mark, to the press or anyone, question mark, I'm going to come for you, period. I'm going to tell them what you did here, comma, that you harassed me, comma, that you stole this from me, period. Because something tells me, comma, Miss Adams, comma, that your record is not sparkly clean, period. Something tells me that, M dash, close quote, in paragraph. But Chase was already turning, period, in paragraph. She was already letting herself out of her house and making her way down the walk towards her car, period, in paragraph. She didn't care what Mr. Madison said now because she'd gotten what she'd wanted, period, in paragraph. She'd gotten what she came for, period, in paragraph. But as she got behind the wheel of her car, comma, she still didn't realize. Chase still wasn't sure what all this meant, period, in paragraph. One thing was certain, however, comma, she was going to find out, period. All right, guys. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. So we know now that Mr. Madison has at least some knowledge of this drug. You can infer that he kept this piece of paper, that it was well worn. These are just little hints to suggest that this wasn't something that he just had, and he had to go find. It wasn't like he was holding records of all these things. He only has the one sheet, and it only pertains to the one patient who was going to commit suicide or tried, and it was like a well-worn sheet. So these little hints that Chase is internalizing, even though she's shocked by the fact that this guy's in a psych facility. So now we have Floyd and Leroy, and now kind of we're gonna find out in this chapter what's the deal with these monoclonal antibodies. How are they related to this whole thing? I'm just wondering how deep I should go with the science here. I mean, one thing that bothers me about books that get into kind of biology and science, usually the author holds back. It's as if they think that it'll bore the reader or it'll be too complex, which I think is unfortunate. I think it's better in these situations to kind of put more information rather than less, and allow the reader to kind of take what they want from it. A good example of someone doing that is Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian. Like, that is super technical to the point almost where it's a technical manual. And for that reason, I thought that it wouldn't do well. I guess at the time I read it, it was already doing well. My point is, though, I thought that would be a deterrent, but fans, especially sci-fi fans, love that kind of stuff. But there's always the fear that as an author, you're going to put something that is fundamentally wrong, and you don't want to do that, right? Okay, I'm just going to halt this music for a second, guys. So it reminds me of I love Star Trek. Actually, I don't. I lied. I don't really watch Star Trek. It's not really my cup of tea. But what I love about Star Trek is that even though a lot of the things that they do on Star Trek defies the laws of physics or circumvents them, they acknowledge this in really super creative ways. So I just don't want to mess this up, but one of the problems with something like teleportation is that if you look at electrons, you can only know Hello? Okay, sorry. I thought I muted. So you can only tell their position or their direction at any one given time. You cannot know both pieces of information. In fact, if you identify one of those pieces of information, you lose the information for the other one. And I think, this is off the cuff, guys, so please don't skewer me if I'm wrong, but I think this is called the Heisenberg principle. And so what they did in Star Trek is they acknowledged that this is a major problem, because if you think about it, if you're looking at something like transporting in terms of a puzzle, so you have a person that basically you're almost like faxing. You're not really transporting. You're just taking all of the information of all their atoms and their organizations and all the electrons and everything going on, and then you're like uploading that information, and the computer's spitting it out at a different location, right? This is theoretically possible. And they've actually done this with individual electrons, long story. But when you have something like that, the stumbling block right now is the Heisenberg principle, how you can only know the direction. I think it's the direction or the velocity or the position of electron at a given moment. And so because you can't know those two pieces of information, you don't know how to put all the puzzle pieces back together. And so this is why transport, like something like the, beam me up, can't actually work. But Star Trek does a really good job of acknowledging this. Now they cheat because they say, oh, we have the Heisenberg compensator. So they don't tell you what the fuck the compensator is, but they're literally saying to the audience, look, we know that this is the problem. No one knows how to solve this. If we knew how to solve this in this TV show, then like literally we could develop this technology. So we're going to say that we have a device called the compensator, and because of that, that allows us to circumvent that issue. So I really love how they do those things. And so they speak to basically the intelligence of the of the audience. Now, most people, or I don't know, let's say most or a segment of the population won't know anything about Heisenberg, won't care. They have no desire to look it up. But they just know that there's something they just called the Heisenberg compensator. Like, who gives a shit? But the people who know would be like, oh wow, okay. Like myself, I was like, that's pretty cool. That's how they accommodate that particular physics issue. So long tangent to say, as an author, I never want to write something that's fundamentally incorrect. With Beckett, I made sure that all of my medicine and science was accurate. It's still a book. It's still fiction. So there are some things that are glossed over, or there are some things that are fudged to some degree. And despite some of the reviews I got, man, I think I talked about this a while back, but I got some like scathing reviews from some guys like, no, this is wrong. It had to do with one of the syndromes that I had mentioned in the book and how it was an acquired version versus a hereditary version. And the person's like, nope, this is wrong. This is acquired. This is not hereditary, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. And that guy, and that's one of the reviews. This is one of the reviews that I really was tempted to write a comment to on Amazon. Be like, hey, dude, if you're going to chirp the medicine and you're going to say it's incorrect, you have to be 100% incorrect. It's like someone who chirps the grammar in a book, and in the review, it's like fucking Terry Grammar. Like, you could do it. Sure, you're entitled to do it, fine, but it looks bad. And in this case, I double, triple checked that even after he said it because I was doubting it. And, you know, I'm right. I'm still right. But yeah, I don't want to do anything fundamentally incorrect. So right now, in terms of how I'm just writing this book, I'm going to say something and then I'm going to double check to make sure it's okay. It could happen. Again, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be plausible. It has to be possible. That's my take on that anyways. I want it so that it could be true. You know, probably unlikely, but I'm not breaking any rules. I'm not doing something there where people will be like, nah, it cannot possibly happen because of y equals mx plus b, or some bullshit. But I like to keep it so that it is possible. So we're going to get into the science here. I might do I'm intending to do it like a quick one here, and then I'll go back in the editing process and I'll add a whole bunch more detail to make sure that those people who are medically or science inclined will be like, okay, that kind of works. I did that a little bit with when it came to Drug Lord, when Drake was trying to get the heroin off the streets that had fentanyl, laced with fentanyl. As you guys know, fentanyl is super, super dangerous drug. Like something along the lines of just like a few grains can kill you. But during the process of researching that book, I didn't realize that there are far more powerful opioids than fentanyl. We're talking, I think the most powerful one is like omefentanil. You know, it's got an OH group and a methyl group or something like that. And it's like just one single grain of this compound will kill you. It's like for tranquilizing elephants. And that's part of the problem, right? People who are seeking that high are drawn. You know, the question is, why would someone want to do the heroin with their fentanyl in it? Irrespective of the high it might give you, the reality is the fact that they might die is part of the thrill-seeking behavior that they're employing. And that's just my opinion, by the way. And so when you have something that is like fentanyl, and eventually people are going to be developing a tolerance for something like that, hardcore users, and then they're like, okay, it just doesn't do it anymore. And I promise this is related to these books, to my writing. And then you have the development of other very strong drugs like omefentanil, and there's like a whole bunch of different variants. But I'm going to bring it back full circle here. When you think about serial killers and murderers, which often come up in my books, really what happens is there is like this, for lack of a better word, degeneration. That's Gulfty. Degeneration of their MO. So like the common parlance is that, you know, these killers stick to an MO, a modus operandi, or operandus throughout their killing career. So I don't know if person X likes to strangle their victims, then they'll strangle their victims, and they will never deviate from that. But that's not really true. What happens is they may start by strangling, but then that high that they get from that initial kill is something they're always trying to chase, similar to the way that a virgin drug user tries to chase the high that they get from their first hit, right? And so they may start by strangling, but you will see over time, in the unfortunate circumstance that they're allowed to continue their crimes, is that they will then degenerate into more violent and more destructive ways of killing. So they probably will stick to strangulation, but a natural, oh my God, not natural, but you could see that stretching to like a decapitation eventually, or strangulation by more violent means than just their hands. And yeah, so it kind of parallels the to some degree anyways. I'm not obviously comparing the two, but the way addicts seek their next hit. So I have no idea how we got onto this fucking topic. Oh yeah, I remember, because I'm about to write this chapter about how the monoclonal antibodies and the cerebrum, what they have to do with each other. And one of the things I realized, by the way, is that, and I need to go back and adjust it. And this is what I was talking about when I want to make the science as accurate as possible. At first I just went with the idea of this monoclonal antibody being, and I was picturing them taking it orally. Well, I think that's not likely. You would need an injection. So I'm going to add a few lines in later when Chase is inspecting the bodies, and she's going to see the track marks in the arms. Not track marks, but puncture needle holes, because this is how the girls must have ingested, I guess ingested, for lack of a better word, the monoclonal antibodies. So that's what I'm going to go back and adjust that. All right, you guys ready? Y'all ready? Another chapter. Just going to check, see if any questions from Twitch. No, not yet. Okay. I'm cleaning my glasses too. I'm thinking about getting some of those blue light blocking glasses. I know a lot of gamers use them, but there are, I spend a lot of time in front of this TV, this screen here, these two monitors. All right. Let's go. We're gonna get this science out of the way. Open quote. How long would it take for the cerebrum to be processed by the body? Question mark. What's the half-life? Question mark, close quote. Floyd asks, comma, leaning into the computer screen, period to paragraph, open quote. Would it be the same as DMT? Question mark, close quote. Leroy thought about this before answering, period, new paragraph, open quote. I'm not sure, period. Like I said before, comma, you change one carbon atom, comma, add one hydrogen atom, comma, or change the chirality of the molecule, question mark, you could have very different effects, period, close quote, in a paragraph, open quote. But it would have to be short, comma, wouldn't it? But DMT has a half-life of what, 5 to 7 minutes? Question mark, close quote, in a paragraph. Leroy nodded in confirmation, period, in a paragraph, open quote. Then I suspect it's close to the same, comma, close quote, Dunbar said, period. Leroy had completely forgotten that the detective was still there, comma. He turned around and looked up at the big man, period, in a paragraph, open quote. Why do you say that? Question mark, close quote, in a paragraph, open quote. Because, comma, they died. We checked their blood for... I'm positive that DMT was on the list of drugs that were scanned for by the tox screen, period. It didn't show up, period. And they died within minutes of jumping in front of that subway train, period, new paragraph. Dunbar said matter-of-factly, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Yeah, comma, I guess you're right then, comma, close quote, Leroy said as he went back to the computer and continued to research the monoclonal antibody used in Verdant Pharmaceuticals trials, period, new paragraph. Floyd, comma, on the other hand, comma, wasn't so sure, period. He thought about what Dunbar had said, period, that the drug must have cleared their system, comma, that it must have a long half-life, period, new paragraph, open quote. I can't find much about this monoclonal antibody, comma, at all, period. Only that it was, hem dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. But you're assuming that the effects that DMT or cerebrum have on the brain are temporary, period, close quote, in paragraph. Now Dunbar and Leroy looked at him, comma, confused expression on their face, period, in paragraph, open quote. They are temporary, comma, close quote. Leroy offered, period, open quote. The way they work is they affect the serotonin distribution throughout the brain, period. After the drug clears, comma, things return to normal, period, close quote, to paragraph, open quote. Do they? Question mark. You told me that sometimes a bad trip can put someone in a dark mood or a funk state for months afterwards, period, didn't you? Question mark, close quote, to paragraph. Leroy's face screwed up, comma, as if he was having an internal argument with himself, period, to paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, but that's not because of the drug itself, period. Close quote in the paragraph. Open quote. Wait a second, comma. Are you saying that cerebrum has the ability not just to get someone... Are you suggesting that this drug is not intended to be used for like a temporary boost in memory as expressed on the FDA sheet? Question mark. Are you saying that instead this drug will cause permanent changes to the brain? Question mark, close quote. Dunbar asked, period, into paragraph. Leroy chewed the inside of his open quote. Suggesting that it's possible, period. I don't know if that's the case or not, period, close quote, into paragraph. Open quote. Well, I can tell you that The likelihood of that being true is next to zero, period. Even though changing a molecule or two can dramatically change the effects of a drug, comma, it's still a DMT derivative, period. It still works by affecting the serotonin in the brain, period. And unless something else is, M dash close quote, Leroy stopped speaking mid-sentence, period. And his face turned an ashen gray, period, in the paragraph, open quote, what, question mark, what is it, question mark, close quote. Dunbar asked, period, in paragraph, open quote. Floyd stared at the man, comma, trying to read his mind, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Floyd? Leroy? Question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. But Leroy didn't answer, period. His complexion didn't change, comma, either, even as he swung his chair around and went back to his computer and began typing wildly, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Leroy, comma, what's going on, question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. But still, comma, Leroy remained silent, and the only thing that could be heard throughout DSLH investigations was the clacking of computer keys and the thrumming of Floyd's own heart beat in his ears, period, in the paragraph. Open quote. Shit, comma, close quote, Leroy said at last. Period, in the paragraph. Dunbar, comma, clearly fed up with being in the dark, comma, grabbed the back of the man's chair and spun him roughly around, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Leroy, comma, what are you talking about, question mark? Can this cerebrum actually physically change their brain, question mark, permanently, question mark, even after the drug has left their system, question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. Leroy pointed at the computer screen as he spoke, period, in the paragraph, open quote. No, comma, I don't think so, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Dunbar threw up his hands and took a step backward, period, in the paragraph, open quote. I don't understand what the fuck is going on here, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Floyd's eyes drifted from the exasperated detective to the computer screen, period, in the paragraph. He read the first few lines, and then it came to him like an epiphany, period, in the paragraph, open quote. No, comma. The drug can't do it alone, period. Not cerebrum, comma, anyway, period. But maybe in conjunction with another, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Floyd nodded slowly, period, in the paragraph, open quote. I think, dot, 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 I think I know what happened to those girls, period. I think I know why they committed suicide, period, close quote. All right, I'm just pushing this stuff back now. The talks results are coming in. Yeah. All right, so that was a better ending to a chapter. That's how I like to end a chapter. Just like that. What the? That's how I like to end the chapters, just like that. Like, I think I know something that the readers do not know. I will tell you next chapter. All right. So I kind of hinted to what was going on there. I'll get to that in a minute. But now I'm going to have Chase visit this guy. What was his name? Todd Powers. That was the first time I came up with a name. I'll be honest, though. I was thinking about names, like what to use for some of these characters, and I think I was reading something this morning, looking at an Amazon synopsis of a book, and I thought I saw the name Todd, and I was like, I haven't used Todd. I don't think I've used Todd in a long time, or at all. Then boom, and then on my desk I have this plaque that the girls gave me. And I was like, how can I take a name? And I was like, boom, Todd Powers. So that's it. That's the way in which I come up with these incredible names. Okay. Sorry about that. I have no idea what happened there. Speaking of reading blurbs on Amazon, I got a couple books today. Hold on, I'm just looking up. I got a couple a book that's kind of deviates from my normal reading. Let's see. I'll show you guys what it is. So I saw this book as like one of the tops. Yeah, it's number 5 on the Amazon charts this week, and it's called "The Evening and the Morning," and it's Kingsbridge book 4. And I was like, man, I haven't read any Ken Follett. At least I don't think so. And the whole thing it was intriguing to me. It's basically, from what I gather, it's like a history book mixed with fiction. And I haven't read the other one, so I was like, okay, I'm not going to read book 4, even though this seems to be a prequel. So I ended up picking up this one. Yeah, The Pillars of the Earth. I'm a sucker for like epics. One of my favorite books is The Stand, and part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much is because it's so long. I know that like I keep saying that readers' tastes have changed and expectations and length of books have progressively gotten shorter over time. But it's still something to be said about a monster 733-page book in a series that, undoubtedly all the books are about 700, 800, 900 pages. Kind of like the Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire books. But I'm hoping that they don't drag as much as those ones. I love the idea of being with a character for so long. I mean, I do it a bit differently, but if you were to put together, I don't know how many pages the Chase Adams series has been going on for, but it has to be in like the 2,000 to 3,000s. I mean, there are 8 books, one half book. So it's the same idea, but spread over multiple books. So yeah, I'm excited about reading this. Actually, I lied. I'm going to listen to it. I'm excited about listening to this because I got the audio book. Has anybody read Ken Follett? The Pillars of the Earth. And I like books that are about, I don't want to say about history, but ones that take place in a more simpler time. Like some of these urban fantasy books that are out now, when they're using like knives or magic and all this stuff, but if you think about it, and they're supposed to take place, or a lot of the books that have magic, they cheat, right? They don't have guns for whatever reason. You can have magic spells, but gunpowder does not exist. I know there's a reason for it in like the Brandon Sanderson's Oathbringer series, and they come up with some excuses as to why you can't have guns, just because guns are so OP, they're so overpowered. I mean, some guys, I'm conjuring something. Meanwhile, the guy's got a fucking AR-15 and he's blasting you 25 times in the chest. Like, guns are so OP'd. So I like these tales where they don't need to compensate for that. They don't need to make up an excuse. But because, this is prior to actual, like, assault rifles and shit like that. This is 12th century England. They're guns, I imagine, muskets, but it's not the same. Yeah, I'm excited about reading this. I got a bunch on my TBR list. It's old, 10 years old. It's been on the list, or it's been around. All right, it's enough procrastination. Let's get back to work. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, yo. A little pink. All right. So now we're going to have Chase is going to go visit this guy, Todd. Todd's going to be in a bit of a state. And then shit's going to hit the fan. Yeah. Shit's going to hit the fan with Floyd and Dunbar and Mr. Madison. And I also need to bring the one thing that I keep pushing down from chapter to chapter is that idea that you're going to have the talk screen. Like, you're still waiting for the fucking talk screen for the students. Even though there's no expectation that they have any traces of antibodies in their blood, they still need that result, and there's going to be a little tidbit that comes out of it. A tidbit of information. Quasi-related. I got a question for you guys, but I'm going to hold it till after this chapter. Mainland psychiatric facility wasn't like anything Chase had seen before, period. She was well aware that her financial status gave her the because of her poker winnings, Chase was afforded the opportunity to go to one of the most prestigious psychiatric facilities in Virginia. Insert name here. Period. New paragraph. A facility that she doubted even the FBI would have sent her to if it hadn't been for her subsidizing some of the costs, period, new paragraph. But Mainland, despite its rather mundane name, was next level fancy, period, new paragraph. It reminded Chase of the Betty Ford Clinic, reserved for only the most rich and affluent of addicts, period, new paragraph. To her, it resembled more of a posh spa than an actual psychiatric facility for But as soon as Chase stepped inside the elaborate foyer, she recognized the sounds and smells that psychiatric facilities were known for, the occasional shout, a blurt reminiscent of Tourette's syndrome, the smell of antiseptics and the cloying odor of period to paragraph. Yet despite the obvious advanced cost of such a place, it lacked the security that she expected, period to paragraph, which she knew would come in handy, period to paragraph. In the foyer, she saw several men in white outfits, escorting well-dressed individuals to rooms that were made of glass walls, period. It was such a bizarre scene that it almost was the reversal of what she would have expected, She would have thought that the men in the white outfits were the patients and the well-dressed individuals the orderlies, period, new paragraph. That, comma, clearly, comma, wasn't the case, period, new paragraph, open quote. Can I help you? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Chase was drawn back to the woman behind a glass partition just inside the door, period, new paragraph. Like the orderlies on the floor, comma, she was also wearing a white outfit, period. A white outfit that was embroidered with a name over her left breast, colon, Sharon, period, new paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma, I'm here looking for my brother, question mark, close quote, she blurted without thinking, period. The piece of paper that Mr. Madison had given her, comma, the paper that it was clearly something she had that he clearly had at the ready, comma, had indicated that Todd Powers had a sister, period, that she was the one behind the lawsuit that had put her brother here, period. She only hoped that this woman, comma, this Sharon, comma, hadn't met the sister prior to today, period, new paragraph. The alternative would be to flash her FBI badge and gain entrance that way, comma, but she thought a more subtle approach might come in handy, period. And she still had her badge in case it came down to that, period, new paragraph, open quote. And your brother's name is? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Todd, period. Todd Powers, comma, close quote. As she said this name, comma, Chase stared at Sharon, comma, trying to ascertain if any alarm bells were ringing inside of her mind, period, new paragraph, open quote. The smile that suddenly spread on Todd's face, Sharon's face, gave nothing away, period, new paragraph, open quote. Vanessa? Question mark. My name's Vanessa Powers, period. Or at least that was my maiden name, comma, close quote. Chase continued quickly, period. If you were going to tell a lie, comma, you might as well make it believable, period, new paragraph, open quote. It's nice to put a name to the face, comma, close quote, Sharon finally said, period, new paragraph. This surprised Chase, comma, and it clearly, open quote, the checks, question mark, close quote, Sharon continued, comma, clearly picking up on her expression, period, new paragraph, open quote, comma, of course, comma, close quotes, Chase said with a grin of her own, period, new paragraph. So Todd is suicidal after taking cerebrum, comma. His sister sues on his behalf, comma, makes what must have been a princely sum, as it not only brought down Verdant Pharmaceuticals, comma, but it put Todd up here, period. Then she doesn't visit at all, period. Chase put all of this information into her memory banks, comma, thinking that it might come in handy later, period, new paragraph, open quote. I've been ... busy, comma, close quote, Chase said, comma, attempting to look guilty, period, open quote. Is Todd here, question mark. Can I speak to him? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Of course, period. Visiting hours are only for... are done at 4, comma, but I'm sure we could stretch them for a little while longer if need be, period. Are you staying in town? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Chase shook her head, period, new paragraph, open quote. I'm just visiting, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Very well, period. I can escort you if you want, question mark, close quote in a paragraph. Chase looked around, comma, her eyes moving from the myriad of hallways leading off from the foyer, comma, to the glass rooms within which she could see several of the patients playing various board games, period to paragraph, open quote. You know what, comma, I'd appreciate that, period, close quote to paragraph, open quote. Of course, period. Now, comma, I'll just ask that you please put this on. Period, close quote in a paragraph. The woman slid a name tag underneath the desk, comma, which Chase hadn't actually seen her fill out, period. On it was Vanessa Powers, period. Chase took the sticker and put it over her left breast, comma, matching the location of Sharon's embroidered name, period, into paragraph. Open quote, thank you, period. Now, comma, I'll let you know that none of our guests here are violent, comma. But should you feel threatened in any way, comma, all you need to do is stand up and say the safe word. Period, close quote into paragraph. Sharon made her way out the small door and around to Chase, comma. Period into paragraph, open quote. And what's that? Question mark, close quote into paragraph, open quote. Meatloaf, period, close quote. New paragraph, open quote. The safe word is meatloaf? Question mark, close quote, Chase asked as Sharon slowly led the way out into the foyer, period, paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma, it changes on a rotational basis, comma, but for this week it's meatloaf, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Chase let it slide, semicolon. It was a strange name. She'd heard of safe words being used in psychiatric facilities before, comma, as if there is a violent outburst, comma, things can get confusing, what with visitors and patients and orderlies all running about, period to paragraph. But meatloaf? Question mark, new paragraph. Chase shook her head, period to paragraph. As she followed Sharon down one hallway and then the next, comma, Chase took in her surroundings and also tried to pry more information out of the woman, period, new paragraph. The truth was, comma, she had no idea why Todd was still here, period, new paragraph, open quote. How's he doing, comma, anyway, question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. He's doing much better, comma, actually, period. He has some bumps in the road, comma, every once in a while, comma, but at least his but nothing as bad as when he first came in, period. Back when he was still ... well, comma, you know, comma, sick, period, close quote, into paragraph. Open quote, of course, comma, close quote, Chase said as she continued to follow, period, into paragraph. Open quote. You know, comma, if you let us it's probably too late now, comma, today, comma, I mean, comma, seeing that our director has already left for the day, comma, but if you wanted, comma, to come back tomorrow, comma, we'd be more than happy to give you an official tour, period. Close quote in the paragraph. Open quote, maybe. I wasn't planning on sticking around for the night, comma, but you know what, question mark? Maybe I will, period, close quote in paragraph. They walked in silence for a moment before Chase came up with another plan of attack, period, paragraph, open quote. Is he still taking his medication? Question mark, close quote. She said, comma, taking a stab in the gray area, period, new paragraph. The piece of paper listed none of the medications that he might be taking, comma, but she figured that someone in this facility was more likely than not, period. And if he wasn't, comma, there was a high probability that at one point he was, period. She just tried to look like an interested sister who was guilty for not having visited sooner, period, into paragraph. After all, comma, Todd Powers was here, comma, at Mainland Psychiatric Facility, comma, for at least a year, comma, but up to 2, M dash, at least based on the date on the FDA form or court document, period, new paragraph, open quote. Ah, comma, yes, comma, he's still on his M dash, wait, comma, do you mean his cancer medication or his antipsychotics? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. The question was so surprising to Chase that she almost broke character, period, new paragraph. She opened her mouth to speak, comma, but when no words came out and Sharon turned to look at her, comma, she smiled wanly, period, new paragraph, open quote. Both, comma, I guess, period, close quote, new paragraph. Cancer medication? Question mark, new paragraph, open quote. Well, comma, I'm glad to inform you that he's been off the cancer medication for about 6 months, period. Doctors are worried that there might be a recurrence from his brain tumor, comma, but now he's cancer-free, period. As for the other medication, comma, your brother, ... listen, comma, most of the time he's a nice guy, comma. He's in fact one of her better patients, period. But every once in a while, ... docs off him. Have him on low-dose antipsychotics, comma. Now, comma, it doesn't really infect his personality, comma. It just lowers the outbursts, period. Which reminds me, ... I know you're here to visit your brother, and you have every right to do so, comma, but I would appreciate, M dash, I'm sorry, comma, I'm trying to be political here. I'm trying to be nice, comma, but we would like, with Todd, comma, we find that he can get worked up over certain things, period, close quote, in the paragraph. When she finished her sentence, comma, Sharon pulled up in front of another glassed-in room, period. Unlike the others, comma, however, comma, this one only had a single occupant. A man in his mid-40s with shaggy blonde hair and a clean-shaven face, period. He was hunched over a checkerboard, comma, as if trying to figure out the next best move against an invisible opponent, period, in paragraph. It was Todd Powers, comma. Chase was sure of it, period, in paragraph. Open quote. I'm just here to say hello, period. Maybe my presence alone will be enough to set him off, question mark. I hope not, period, close quote, in paragraph, open quote. I'm not sure, period, but we tried to avoid any mention of ... finality, period, close quote, in paragraph, open quote. Finality, question mark, close quote, in paragraph. Chase hated euphemisms and figures of speeches, period. New paragraph, open quote, of, comma, you know, ... of death, period, of the afterlife, period. Close quote in the paragraph. Chase's eyes narrowed, period. She wouldn't... This wasn't something that would come up over the normal course of a conversation, period. And no sister would likely bring up the fact that her brother tried to commit suicide to his face when he was being held in a psychiatric facility, comma, even one as fancy as this one, period, in paragraph. So the fact that Sharon felt the need to mention this meant that not only suggested that this wasn't a minor trigger, period. This suggested that the mention of death or M dash, the afterlife M dash, would set him into a frenzy that everyone would clearly prefer to avoid, period, in paragraph. Open quote. Of course, comma, of course, period. And I won't mention anything about his M dash close quote. Chase briefly looked over her shoulder to Sharon's shoulder as if the woman could hear him. Checking to see if Todd could hear him, period. Then she lowered her voice, period, open quote, M dash, his incident, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Sharon's smile broadened, period, new paragraph, open quote. Of course, comma, close quote, she said as she pulled the door open, period. Open quote, I can wait here if you'd like, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. I'll be fine, comma, close quote, Chase replied within a smile of her own, period, new paragraph, open quote. Just don't forget the safe word, period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase nodded and entered the room, period, new paragraph, open quote. Meatloaf, dot, dot, dot. How could I forget meatloaf, period, new paragraph. Chase waited for the door to be closed behind her before she smoothed the front of her jeans and stepped forward, period, new paragraph. This, comma, of course, comma, was going to be more tricky than dealing with Sharon, period. Dealing with Sharon, M dash. After all, comma, Sharon had never seen Todd's sister before, comma, but Todd certainly had, period, new paragraph, and Chase wasn't sure how she was going to play this, period, new paragraph. She took 2 steps into the room before the man looked up at her, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Hello, comma, close quote. The man said in a pleasant voice, period. He even rose as she approached, comma, and held out his hand, period. Chase took a deep breath and walked forward, period. As she neared, comma, she was still trying to work out how she should introduce herself, period. New paragraph. But when she neared, comma, Todd eliminated the need for that, period, new paragraph. The man squinted and leaned towards her name tag, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Vanessa? Question mark. Vanessa, I'm so glad you came. Period, close quote, new paragraph. Chase was also debating whether or not she should shake the man's hand, comma, given what had happened to her in the past when she went skin on skin with the victim of a crime, period, new paragraph. Once more, comma, however, comma, Todd took the initiative, period. Instead of holding out his hand, comma, he rushed towards her and embraced her tightly, period, new paragraph. Chase hugged him back, comma, with a little less fervor than he did, period, new paragraph. The man was smiling broadly when they disengaged, period, new paragraph, open quote. I'm so glad you came, comma, Vanessa, period. So, comma, so glad, period, close quote. Why don't you sit down, question mark. Why don't you sit down and join me in the game of checkers, question mark. Remember when we were kids, question mark? You also always used to beat me. Always used to beat me, period. But I've been practicing, period. For 2 years, I've been sitting here practicing, period, close quote. His eyes went wide, comma, and there was a wildness to them that Chase recognized from other patients she'd seen at the psychiatric facility, period, new paragraph, and in her own eyes, comma, when she'd been a patient herself, period, new paragraph, open quote. Come on, comma, sit down, period. Let's play, period, close quote. All right. Thanks, Miranda. Welcome. Thank you for the like. So yeah, we're getting some hints now. I love how these things are kind of aligning, where you have the science being revealed by Leroy and Floyd and Dunbar, and then you have like the investigation, the human side, being revealed by Chase at about the same time. And I really like when books do that, and I try to do that often. I don't like to have one character find out about, like the main plot point. I don't like when that person finds out, or they all find out the same way, or they find out in different ways but at different times. I like the cohesiveness and the symmetry of them finding out pretty much at the same time, like one chapter after another. It is now 1:05. I've been live for about 2 hours. I'm going to take a break, grab a little lunch, and I'm going to come back hopefully at 2 o'clock and for another few hours. Like, we had a productive morning, chat. Come on now. We have done 42. We've done 4,200 words, which is a great start to the day. And I think I could get to 10,000 today. Actually, I don't know if I'll finish the book today. I was thinking if I just push, I could finish it. And you know how it is with me and endings. They come hot and fast. Okay. It sounded weird. But I think maybe I'll finish it tomorrow or today, depending on how things go. My throat's a bit dry. I'm going to go break for lunch. Thanks, everyone, for joining. And I got a question, an important question to ask you guys. A serious question for once when I come back at 2 o'clock. So please do join me and enjoy your lunch if you're on lunch break, or enjoy your evening, guys. I'll see you in a few.